Peace and greetings to you all. My name is Born Logic Allah. Most people just call me Logic for short. I'm the co-founder of Melaneyes Media, and it's my pleasure to be able to present. Hold on. Got some feedback. Hold on. Pardon me for that. So today's demo event is basically a scaled down version of a larger presentation that we are offering to companies and organizations for educational Juneteenth programming. And so I'll give you a little background on myself. I'm a documentary filmmaker, also a Black historian. It's my passion. Melaneyes Media, we came into existence in 2017, and we've been dealing with promoting and producing Black historical documentaries, also online courses and presentations. And so once again, this demo event is really to provide a taste of what it's like for a larger presentation that we're offering. It's about 15 minutes total. I would suggest having a pen and pad handy because there is a quiz. We do have some quiz trivia questions just to make sure that you learn something. And that's pretty much it. So I do want to pause. I know we're a couple minutes in. I do expect a few more people to join. We had, I think, 15 people register. So I just want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to log in. But in the meantime, if anyone would like to tell me where they're from, or just if anyone has any questions or comments, I'm open to that. But I would definitely like to know where you all are from, those of you who are with us right now.
Sorry, this is only on my computer. I'm trying to get our, hello.
How are you?
I'm trying to get our computer to work. Maybe if I do this, I have myself and Jody in the office.
Okay, I can see you both.
And we are starting like a DEI council at our company. We're Eller's public finance firm located in Roseville, Minnesota. And I was really intrigued by the information that you sent out and interested in learning more. We are having our first kickoff meeting with the group on June 15th, where we'll be like brainstorming some events that we can focus on sharing and learning and celebrating the differences among us. We have about 80 employees at the company, so pretty small, but we really want to kind of hone in on our mission of building communities. We work with a lot of schools and municipalities around the state of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And so we really want to kind of focus on what makes us all different and unique, and just doing a better job of representing the communities that we serve.
That's excellent. I used to live in Wisconsin. I lived in Green Bay and Madison.
That's where I'm from Green Bay.
Wow, small world.
That
Cool.
is a small world. Cool.
Yeah, I lived there for probably 10 years.
Did you graduate high school there, or?
No, I came there after high school. I'm originally from Indiana. And so my parents were separated and my dad moved to Green Bay. And so the whole family ended up going up there.
Okay.
And then I went to school up there. I got a degree in architecture, and then I moved to Madison, where I had a job working for an architectural firm down there. So that's what happened before I moved here to Texas. Right now I'm in San Antonio.
You escaped the brutal winter weather.
Yes, I did.
Good for you.
Indeed. I see here in the chat, Beverly Graham from Orlando, Florida. Thank you for joining us. Excellent. Well, I do want to pause just in case anyone has any questions for me, but if not, then I will begin the presentation. But I'll pause. The chat will remain open all throughout the presentation, so feel free to engage. And once again, make sure you have a pen and pad if you're just now joining us, because there will be a short quiz, so you may want to take notes. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and transition to my screen share and get the show on the road. Uh, I'm really looking forward to today. This is my last week of hosting these online demo sessions. I've been doing them all month. And it's been really fun and I've really enjoyed it. And so I hope that today you learned something and that you walk away with value. So in the chat, if you wouldn't mind letting me know if you can see that image or not, just so I know we got our technology correct. You can see it, excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Beautiful. So Juneteenth, Independence Day, it is a holiday. June 19th is the oldest known celebration commemorating the emancipation of enslaved Africans here in America. It was made a federal holiday June 17th of 2021 when President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Act into law. And so for those who may not be aware, the word Juneteenth is a combination of June and 19. I wanted to point out this image that we have. This is a distinguished image from Austin, Texas in the year 1900 at an Emancipation Day celebration. So before the term Juneteenth was widely used, the holiday June 19th was referred to as Freedom Day in some places, Emancipation Day, also Jubilee Day. But the gist and the point of it has remained the same, is to celebrate the emancipation of the enslaved. And so I don't think we can have a true conversation or an understanding of Juneteenth without mentioning slavery and also the Civil War. So slavery became a very contentious issue in the country in the mid-1800s. Northerners, for the most part, believed slavery was against the ideals of the nation and did not want it to be adopted by Western states as the US started to expand. Southerners felt that cotton production and slave labor were the fuel of the economy and essential to their way of life. And so 5 months after the election of President Lincoln, the Civil War began. Southern states left the Union to form the Confederate States of America, with South Carolina being the first state to secede from the Union in 1860. And so now we're going to speak about the Emancipation Proclamation very briefly. It was issued on January 1st, 1863, as the nation approached the third year of the bloody Civil War. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free. So theoretically, enslaved people in the Confederate States should have been freed at this time. But the problem with the Emancipation Proclamation was that it was not a law. It was more of an executive order. And the states that left the Union by this time had their own nation. They had their own president, and they had no incentive to really respect the proclamation because once again, they were at war. This was not law, and they had left the United States and formed their own nation. So it took troops to come in and enforce this proclamation for it to actually take effect. And so we're going to watch a short video just speaking more about this. So part of the Emancipation Proclamation was not a humanitarian move. It was also a move by the commander-in-chief who knew and wanted to win the war and was looking for any strategic method that he could use to gain that victory.
Because he's trying to keep a fragile union together. He's got many border states that have slaves in it, and so he's trying to keep it together. But yet he wants to keep Britain and France out of it. He's got a Congress that's now increasingly radicalized because you have these southern states that are no longer part of the Congress. And so radical Republicans in the South are pushing him on the issue of slavery. They're passing the First and Confiscation Acts that kind of initiate the question of what happens to enslaved people when an army comes into an area and they kind of take over an area. Are those enslaved people still slaves when the army is now in control? Even though, so what happens, the status of them?
When Northern forces invaded the South, Black men and women escaped from bondage and ran to the U.S. Army lines, seeing the soldiers as liberators. Lincoln and the Republicans saw this as an opportunity. At first, the Army had no idea what to do with the massive influx of formerly enslaved people, referring to them as contrabands, since they were still technically considered property. Some commanders found them irritating and treated them horribly. Others saw this as a bonus. Losing enslaved people not only demoralized white Southerners, it also deprived them of their labor force, meaning the South would soon run out of food and supplies. When writing the Emancipation Proclamation, President Lincoln was sure to make it clear that the freeing of enslaved persons would only apply to enslaved people in the 10 states in rebellion. Texas, being so far west and isolated geographically, planters and other slaveholders had migrated into the state from eastern territories to escape the fighting, and many brought enslaved people with them. Increasing by the thousands, the enslaved population in the state at the end of the Civil War had grown significantly. So as the war continued and battles moved westward, the Union took over Confederate territories. And when they did this, they freed enslaved people. Upon freedom, a large majority of the Black men actually joined the Union Army. Some people are not aware that 180,000 Black troops fought in the Civil War. And so we're going to speak about the end of the war. So when General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox on April 9th, 1865, this, for the most part, ended the fighting of the Eastern Theater and pretty much ended the American Civil War. News traveled to other parts of the South where officers and troops also surrendered. So once again, theoretically, this should have also freed enslaved people in the South. But once again, because of its isolation and sheer size, Texas was one of the last regions to get the news of the end of the war. There was very little fighting that took place in this state. Plus, Texas had an air of independence, as you might remember, between the years of 1836 and 1846, Texas was its own republic. It was its own nation, and it was a slave-holding territory. Texas also had become a major spot for people to escape the battles. And so a lot of slaveholders moved to Texas to try to escape fighting and also to keep their slaves. So there was a need for Union troops to come to Texas, which they did on June 18th, 1865 at Galveston Bay. U.S. Major General Gordon Granger issued General Order Number 3, which informed the people of Texas that all enslaved people were now free, and this took place on June 19th, 1865. At that time, there were approximately 250,000 enslaved people in the state of Texas by the end of the Civil War. So 250,000 enslaved people were in Texas. So just to recap, after 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, Black people in the state of Texas started to get official indications of their freedom. Now, if you look at the map, once again, I just want to re-emphasize the sheer size of the state of Texas. It's huge. Not only that, but if you look at that red arrow pointing to Galveston, which is actually an island off the southern coast, you realize that for the word to spread across the state of Texas, it took a while. So I just want to emphasize this because I'm not sure if people are aware of this. So on June 19th, that is the indication, that is a mark in time when General Order number 3 was read. But in all actuality, it wasn't just the snap of a finger and all people were automatically freed. It took enforcement. And so there was still time in processing the information, in the spreading of the information across the state of Texas. So technically, June 19th is really more the beginning of the end, but it all didn't just take place on that one day. So even as freedom was granted, you have to realize it was gradual and it was limited, to say the least. Slavery, the legal institution may have ended. However, the mentality and culture of bondage did not just disappear. There were transitional slavery institutions that went into effect. These took the form of sharecropping, black codes, and also the inmate lease system. These systems limited access, travel, and freedom, and was an overarching theme in the South for another 100 years. So once again, just looking at the fact that even after the Civil War, even after freedom, there was legal segregation and also Jim Crow laws and these transitional institutions that went into effect. Legally, it was not until the 13th Amendment to the US Constitution was put into effect in December of 1865 that slavery became outlawed throughout the US. Once again, I also want to point out that the states of Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, and Delaware were border states, and these were states that the Emancipation Proclamation did not affect because these states remained loyal to the Union. So once again, it took the 13th Amendment to truly abolish slavery all over the US. So right now, I know we've covered a lot of information quickly, so I do want to pause in case anyone has questions. If there are no questions, we can continue on with our quiz. So this is basically a test your knowledge phase of the presentation. Once again, what you just experienced and also this quiz is a taste, a scaled down version of what you get when you book a full Juneteenth, Understanding Juneteenth presentation with and from Melaneyes Media. So basically what happens, we have 4 questions. You'll write down your own answers on your own sheet of paper or your tablet, phone, what have you. I'll come back and give the proper answers, and then you'll check your own work, and then we're going to put our scores in the chat so we can see how we did. So let's get started. Question number 1. What city in Texas was the location of the reading of General Order number 3 on June 19th, 1865, which began the Juneteenth celebration? What city? Number 2, how many enslaved people were estimated to be in Texas at the end of the Civil War? How many people? Number 3, the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect in what year? And number 4, in what year did Juneteenth become a federal holiday? In what year did Juneteenth become a federal holiday? So hopefully you've documented your answers at this time. I'm going to circle back to the top, give the correct answers, and you check your own work. So going back to number 1, the answer is Galveston, Galveston, Texas. Number 2, 250,000, 250,000. Number 3, 1863, 1863. And number 4, 2021, 2021. So of those 4 questions in the chat, let me know how many you got correct, whether it was 4 or 4, 3 or 4, 2 or 4, what have you. Let's see how we did. All right, I see 4, 4, 4, excellent. 4, 4, good job. All right. So you all were definitely paying attention. Kudos to you all. And so once again, this is a snapshot, a taste of the broader presentation that we're offering. So why is something like this important for companies and organizations? Juneteenth is not just a Black celebration. It is now a national holiday, and all Americans should know what it represents. Black history is American history, and it affects us all. I know often we coin or we use the term Black history because a lot of times achievements and significant dates and times for African American people have not always been injected into the grander scheme of history in America, but it is American history and it does affect us all. Another reason, during the Great Resignation, some 51% of employees reported that they left the company because they didn't feel a sense of belonging, a sentiment that was greater among non-white employees. This statistic comes from Forbes magazine. And so if a person is willing to leave their job because they don't feel a sense of belonging at their organization, it lets us know that there's a need to have more events and opportunities to make all feel welcome. Wouldn't it be nice to have an opportunity for real education around Juneteenth? So when the holiday comes up, there can be conversations that are based on information so that people can have a better understanding of what's being celebrated. And so who are we? We are Melaneyes Media. We specialize in producing educational, culturally enriching Black historical content in the form of documentary films, presentations, and also online courses. We've been teaching and sharing this type of information since 2017, and we've been presenting in an online capacity like this since April of 2020 when the pandemic first hit. Our partners that we have served include Amazon, Salesforce, OneDrop, MuleSoft, Braverly, Popular Democracy, and others. And so we feel it is our duty with an opportunity like this with Juneteenth to be able to present information to help individuals get a better understanding. So with that, I do want to pause in case anyone has any questions. If not, then I'm going to continue on. So what does the full presentation look like? Understanding Juneteenth is a 1-hour presentation hosted on Zoom, similar to this. In that presentation, we cover the history of the Emancipation Proclamation, details of General Order Number 3, the 13th Amendment in depth, the path to legislation, what did it take for this to become a federal holiday, how the holiday has been celebrated over the years, and lessons of freedom. It includes interviews with esteemed guests, including Dr. Carrie Lattimore, who is the Associate Professor of History at Trinity University, Dr. Gerald Horn, who is the Moore's Professorship of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston, and Dr. Carol Bunch Davis, who is the Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs at Texas A&M Galveston. The 1-hour presentation includes 2 pop quizzes, rare footage of celebrations from the early 1900s, and a downloadable PDF, which we call a resource guide, in case you would like to learn more about Juneteenth and do more research. And so with this, you may be asking, well, how can we book this event? What steps do we need to take? So to book this event is really simple. All you have to do is visit our website, blackhistoryevents.online. Here you can book a private Juneteenth experience for your organization. Either that or you can email me at logic@melaneyesmedia.com. If you go to our website, there is a Book Now button, which allows you to fill out a form with all the pertinent information. And once you do so, someone from our organization will reach back out to you, confirm the dates, and get the process going for you. So a lot of people ask, what is the price for something like this? The price varies, but it starts at $350, and it is based on how many attendees you estimate that you would like to participate in the online experience. And so once again, at our website, there's a downloadable PDF that has a pricing list attached to it. For today and today only, we are offering a 10% discount, basically a sale. If you book the event today, you can get 10% off. And so how do you go about securing that 10% discount? All you have to do is go to our website, blackhistoryevents.online, fill out the booking form, and you can secure your 10% off. No down payment is required, no money is required today, but this will secure your booking and also secure your 10% off. Or you could simply email me, once again, logic@melaneyesmedia.com, and let me know that you're interested, and that can also secure your 10% off. So with that, I do want to pause again, just in case anyone has questions or comments. And so if there are no questions, then I have a few questions for you, just 3 qualifying questions that I like to ask. Number 1, did you learn something from this experience? Did you learn something? Did you find value in this demo event? Did you see the value of this type of information? Do you think others would benefit from experiencing this session or the larger presentation as a whole? If you answer yes to any of these 3 questions, or especially all 3 questions, let us help you book the full version for your organization today. And once again, because you are attending this demo event, if you secure your booking through our website or through email today, you can receive 10% off. And so that is the end of my formal presentation. And what I would like to do now is come back to you all. I'm going to stop my screen share, get feedback from you all, questions, comments, things you may want to know more about, just open to dialogue and conversation at this point.
Well, I do want to thank you so much for your time and for the presentation. I felt like I learned a lot more than I probably learned in school. So that's definitely something that I really do appreciate.
Absolutely, my pleasure, and I appreciate your words. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have comments, thoughts, feedback? Let me know. The last thing that I would like to do really quickly, I'm going to do a screen share. Give me 1 second. Just want to be able to take you to the website so you can get a feel for it. Once again, these are virtual team bonding. So it's a great way to get people to come together. We offer other events that are based on Black history, but this month, May and in June, we're just focusing on Juneteenth right now. But once again, I did want to show you the Book Today button. So you can go here, fill out the information, and get your 10% off. Also, if you're wanting to know more about Juneteenth, we have some facts here. These are our partners, once again, that we've worked with in the past, but also wanted to bring you here to the price list where you can get a category of pricing depending on how many individuals you estimate attending your private experience. And so once again, this is the website. I'm going to grab the link Gonna copy it so that I can put it in the chat. Right there. So there you have it. That's easy access right there. And once again, my name is Logic. I appreciate your time. This has been exciting for me. Anytime I get a chance to share information from a Black historical perspective is what I love to do. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me. And once again, I will pause just in case anyone has comments or questions or anything they wanted clarity on. That's always important to make sure we're clear. But if there are no questions, I would once again just like to thank you all for joining me. Hopefully, we'll meet again. Hopefully, you'll book your private presentation with us. And I just hope that you all have a positive and productive day. Until we meet again, peace and blessings. Thank you all. Thank you. You're welcome.